Do you want to go into Green Party stuff?
Oh my
like
God.
Next to no
Okay.
lighting, but
well,
can you summarize it, or it's a lot?
So everybody, no, that's not true. I was going to say everybody remembers, but probably nobody remembers. So the Green Party blew up recently. They went full identity politics with their last leader, Annamie Paul.
Yeah.
And it backfired in quite a spectacular way, as Annamie Paul, who is Jewish and is pro-Israel, dealt with a huge like BDS backlash within the Green Party. And essentially the Arab-Israeli conflict destroyed the Green Party, destroyed the leadership, made Annamie Paul essentially leave in disgrace. It was this whole thing. It was like total malpractice by the party to destroy themselves in that way. And then they went with another very kind of identitarian interim leader, Dr. Amita Kutner, who is non-binary, I believe. But so at first, I'll admit it, and this is going to sound, a bit prejudiced, whatever. I rolled my eyes a little bit when they went with Dr. Kutner at first, because I was like, oh, look, it's just another, they found the most token minority that they possibly could.
Like in the Asian non-binary.
Keep going on if you want. But honestly, Dr. Amita Kutner really impressed me. They speak very well. They're obviously highly intelligent. They're much more thoughtful than I was expecting. And yet, under their interim leadership, and okay, another thing too, another point that I kind of held against Dr. Kutner was their age. They're like 29 or something.
Yeah, how
and I thought it was just absurd. Well, that too, and like astrophysics, which, is cool. You do you, but, I'm prejudiced against young people, and I say this as a young man myself. So that's a big part of it. But again, Kutner was really impressing me and was speaking very well and blah, blah, blah. And even though I obviously don't agree with them about a lot of stuff, about policy and whatnot, I was like, wow, maybe the Green Party actually made this one right. But now there has been a misgendering incident, and they've blown the party up again. Because it turns out the only way to blow the party up harder than relitigating the Arab-Israeli conflict within the Green Party of Canada is to have a non-binary leader be misgendered. The president of the party has resigned. They have said that the dream is dead.
Who did the misgendering? Was it just some random delegate at the meeting, or I don't even know.
This is really bad, but honestly, I don't know either. I know that there was a misgendering incident and that the president of the Green Party resigned as a result. The early articles I read about this were a bit unclear, and I think not trying to assign blame in a way that could be seen as libelous.
The party leader.
But there was a misgendering incident, and now the Green Party is disintegrating again.
And the president of the party wanted to delay the leadership race, which the old leader Elizabeth May is running as a co-leader with someone else.
So they're using this misgendering incident as an excuse to delay the party's leadership race. Let us say that again.
Due to like institutional racism and discrimination against like 2S LGBT people. Basically.
So you're not going to have a party leader? What's going on?
And they want to close the Ottawa office. So Elizabeth May and her co-leader, person whose name I forget, put out a statement saying that, not the co-leader, the two MPs, Elizabeth May and the other dude, who's also the MP, the two elected
I keep forgetting his name, but there's a guy in Kitchener.
Yeah, they threatened to walk, to sit as independents if they delay the leadership race and or they close the Ottawa office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So closing the Ottawa office is a little bit more complicated because that speaks to party finances.
Yeah,
like we know how broke the NDP are.
The Greens.
The Greens are like, oh my God. Yeah. They're like, they got their Timmy's cup out and they're asking for toonies. Like it's bad over there. So maybe they should downsize. And I think they were saying that downsizing would be okay. They just think it would be a huge step in the wrong direction if the party abolished their physical office in Ottawa.
Yeah, and just went completely virtual or whatever, right?
Well, from a COVID perspective, that doesn't really seem responsible to me.
Yeah. And like the fact that like May is even running and they're doing this co-leader thing, and it's
oh yes, the co-leader thing. So there's been talk about this for years, but Elizabeth May, who is the presumptive frontrunner in the Green Party leadership race, especially since Alex Tyrrell got kicked out for being too pro-Russia.
Oh yeah.
So this whole party is a mess because you're either too pro-Russia, or you're too anti-Israel, or you're too anti-Palestine, or you misgender someone, you know, and have to pause the leadership race as a result. Like it's not a serious party. And honestly, I've been a little bit kind to the Green Party on the site.
Party?
I've been, not really. I've been kind of nice to them in the hopes that the Green Party would kind of get their act together and kind of be the ground floor of some kind of resurgence of left libertarianism. I would love to see a version of left-wing politics in Canada that is not just like predicated on constant state meddling and interference and regulation in our lives at all times. Unfortunately, now that the NDP has completely abdicated their role as civil liberty advocates, we don't have an anti-authoritarian left-wing political tendency in this country anymore. And I was kind of hoping that would emerge a little bit within the Green Party, but it's a dumpster fire over there. Why can't they get their act together? And this is why Elizabeth May's running again. I don't even think she wants to. She's 68. She recently got married. She probably wants to retire. But who else is going to be leader and somehow do a better job than Elizabeth May?
Cult of personality. You could say that about Trudeau, even Trump, like parties that are kind of formed around a singular person. That's the downfall. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have this
succession.
Exactly. Literally succession. It's like, yeah, it becomes a succession crisis.
You got to groom the heir and you got to groom the spare just in case.
Exactly.
And the Green Party did neither.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Do you think they could weather this and exist as a party by the time?
Maybe, but the other thing too is the Liberals have leaned so heavily into woke environmentalism and
that's
stuff.
The thing. I think that's a big part of it.
Stephen Guilbeault being in cabinet and stuff, and like being a member of the Queen's or King's Privy Council, stuff like that. So I think it's hard for the Green Party to compete with that when the Liberal Party can pretend to care about the environment and also actually win. When the Conservatives were in power, I think it was a little bit easier for the Green Party because they could fundraise, you know, against the tar sands and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now that the Liberals are in power, they're not allowing development anyway and resource extraction, basically. What role does the Green Party really have other than, I don't know, to talk about how Wi-Fi gives you cancer or whatever?
Wasn't there a Green, I forget, there was like, was it David Suzuki? Someone notable in the environmental movement endorsed like a member of the NDP in BC, like the NDP candidate, instead of the Green Party. And that was like a huge controversy in the 2021 election.
I mean, I don't see how it's controversial, seeing as the NDP has been on this whole woke green movement from the very beginning too. The only difference is that they don't necessarily want to massacre all of the well-paid union jobs that stand in the way of the green transition, whereas the Green Party doesn't care as much about that. So that's another problem. The Green Party's competing with two other parties. And it's hard to do that.
So what do you think? You had a crystal ball. Next election, I'm sure they'll be here, but the election after that?
Well, the other thing too is if there's a big turn away from the Trudeau Liberals, it's possible there might be a resurgence in the Green Party a little bit because disaffected Liberals will want to park their vote somewhere else, right? Kind of like Aaron O'Toole voters who then voted for the PPC because they didn't like the version of Aaron O'Toole they actually got. So I think the Green Party could potentially do okay if the Liberal Party imploded, because I think Liberal voters are actually more willing to vote Green than people realize. And the polling to an extent supports me on this. But, you know, are they ever going to form even a minority parliament? Like, no, not at this rate. We would need, you know, catastrophic changes to our political landscape to facilitate a future in which that may happen.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for the Greens. It's just, it's hard to even comprehend. What you want to do? There's like the America topics. There's also Ottawa super PACs. I don't know.
We can skip the local stuff for now. I'll just briefly go over the U.S. stuff and then we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else.
The last thing I had was Little Mermaid.
Okay, yeah, we'll save that for last. Unless